Hello there. Thank you for joining us on the midweek edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo. Today on the program, Wole TINUBU says federal government spent $5 billion on fuel subsidy in 2018, blames politicians for its continuation. Soyinka calls for caution over RUGA settlements. And later on the show, outrage as Senator assaults nursing mother at a sex toys shop in Abuja, and as Inspector General of Police orders comprehensive investigation. I will be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Ismaila Omikpidon, and Sam Ibemere. Journalist Hangout starts now. Let's start on a lighter note, yet an instructive one. Your award-winning program, Journalist Hangout, has attracted diverse viewers from across the world. Recently, it has even attracted the attention of thespians. The likes of TUNJI SOTIMIRIN'S did a tribute to the program. Let's share this with you.
Hello, and thanks for joining the Tuesday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Osugbakun. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Wahid Bakari. If you are ready, let the hangout start now. Babajide, the last I read on Friday night, around Apapa, a young man and his girlfriend, they were coming back from the nightclub, and they were accosted by these police officers, and they asked them to stop, and they didn't stop. And when they got to their destination, these police officers opened fire and killed the lady instantly. And the guy had bullet wound in his head. I think the guy is still recuperating in the hospital now. We have killer cops, trigger-happy killer cops all over now. And a lot of people have been talking about the need to examine the level of sanity of some of these police officers who are carrying ammunition. I agree with you that these policemen need to have their heads examined, because I can't explain why suddenly we see policemen just firing at people at will. If they are eager to use the weapons that they have been given, then let us send them to Borno. That is where they are needed. You are not supposed to turn your weapons against innocent citizens, people who are not in position to hurt you in any way. The boy that they killed, the Kolade boy that they killed, was not carrying a gun. And so if you really want to use the weapon, you think you want to use the weapon that by the grace of taxpayers you have been given, then let us send them to Borno State. That is where they will be useful. Did the Boko Haram not overrun the #1 police facility training in Goza? What happened? Were they able to stop them? Till today, those 14 police officers that were taken prisoners, nobody knows how they ended up. So some of these trigger-happy guys who think because they are SAGs and they call them SAGs and they are equal to God, they have power over life and death, then let us send them to Borno State, because we are here to defeat Boko Haram. No matter what anyone says, Let us send them there. Those areas where Boko Haram is running riot. Borno North. Borno North is in need of people to protect our people. All those dangerous areas, we can send them there. Zari, Metele, Abadan, local government, we can send them there.
Yes, an applause to SOTIMIRIN. Yes, we had a wonderful time having a good laugh in the studio there. SOTIMIRIN got the transition from Ayodele Ozugbako to Babajide Kolade Otitoju to Wahid Bakare, and maybe to someone else that I can. Yes. Of course, we say thank you very much for that wonderful tribute, TUNJI SOTIMIRIN, a great thespian there. Moving on now with the business of the day. The oil subsidy regime in Nigeria is as naughty as it is controversial. To remove or retain the subsidy on fuel has become intractable for government as it continues to gulp billions. Now, a key player in the sector, Wole TINUBU, has let it be known that the federal government spent $5 billion on fuel subsidy in 2018 alone. Speaking at an oil and gas conference in Abuja on Tuesday, Wole TINUBU explained that government must stop subsidy and invest in infrastructure or consumption. He blamed politicians who want the subsidy on crude oil products to continue at all costs for the imbroglio. To him, the petroleum industry bill is the way out, and he urged the federal government to reconsider its passage. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Ismaila Omikwidon, and Sam Ibemere. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Now, Babajide, this is coming less than a week when the Emir of Kano spoke in the same breath. $5 billion is no child's play. In some cases, it's the budget of African countries, not one. Is there any justification for Nigeria to have spent this much on fuel subsidy in 1 year alone?
If that figure is correct, and I expect that figure to be correct because it's an insider. His company came close to buying a refinery some years back. That's when it was known as Unipetrol. I mean, Wando. Wando, yes. Wando was close to buying a refinery. So, Wole TINUBU is an insider with more than 20 years experience in what we are talking about. So, he knows what's going on. And I don't think that anyone with sufficient grounding, with sufficient knowledge of the Nigerian oil sector would want this subsidy regime to continue. Yes, the whole idea is to ensure that our people do not suffer, especially in form of high cost of commuting from place to place. But at the end of the day, there's a big scam that's going on that you recall the former Minister of Finance spoke passionately about. In fact, I remember that day when she was saying that NNPC was not remitting as much as it should remit, and that the president at this stage must get involved. It wasn't long before she eventually had to leave her position. No one can say with certainty that some powerful people within the sector didn't actually goad the individuals who brought out the document that eventually nailed her. But the truth is, I don't think that we can go on with this subsidy regime for much longer. We can't find the money to fix infrastructure. Yet, we are spending 1.5 trillion out of a budget of less than 10 trillion on subsidy alone. If his figure is correct, it means that almost half of what we even generate from crude oil sales in a year goes to services subsidy. Because there are years depending on the price of crude oil, we've had years when we didn't do beyond $10 billion. So if $5 billion gets spent on subsidy alone, then we should all be worried. We should be worried about ghost importation that is happening, and then we are talking about subsidy. We should be worried because, for me, and I've said it, and there's no way I can believe that we are consuming 50 million liters every day. There's just no way I can believe. There's just no way. What do you point at? Are you telling me that the rate of car purchase in our country has gone so high? How come a few years back it was just between 25 to 30? And then we've doubled it? How did it happen? This has to be explained. That is why people like the Emir of Kano are saying we are subsidizing inefficiency in the sector, we are subsidizing inefficiency, we are subsidizing corruption, we are subsidizing smuggling, because a significant portion of the PMS that we bring into our country end up outside Nigeria. All of those countries around us, they benefit. So we sell cheap fuel to our neighbors just because this subsidy thing is in place. And what are we even talking about? Subsidy, the bulk of this subsidized petrol that we bring into our country gets used within Lagos and Ogun alone. Out of the around 10.6 million active vehicles, you know, on our roads, more than 5.6 million are in the Lagos area. So even this subsidy thing, when you do the maths, it is not even half of the Nigerian people that are at the end of the day benefiting. Because the bulk of the consumption is in Lagos.
It's in Lagos.
Far more cars, yeah, even NNPC, their distribution, if you see their distribution template, you see that is heavily skewed towards Lagos. It's largely in Lagos that the bulk of the PMS gets distributed. So technically speaking, you see that many Nigerians are not benefiting. So in my view, subsidize production massively. Agriculture, for example, if you subsidize agriculture massively, especially rice production, in no time, we won't need to eat imported rice because people will see the need to get involved. That's what is happening in America now, because Trump is massively subsidizing agriculture. He spent more than $15 billion subsidizing agriculture. Once you are interested, you get the reward. And today in America, the economy is doing well. There are more jobs than people even need, which is rare. It's because he's focusing on subsidizing production, trying to make America great by focusing on what Americans produce. This is what we should be doing. Instead of subsidizing consumption, let's subsidize production massively. Now, Nigerians will benefit from it. And I've said that each of those states, if we stop subsidy today, each of the states will get an extra revenue from the distributable revenue from FAC. They will get an extra between 30 to 40 billion naira before the end of the year. If we do it today.
If we do the mathematics.
Yes, if we do it today. And out of that, if our leaders truly love the people, then you can say, oh, one of the ways that Nigerians will suffer is through high transport costs. Then let us buy buses, long buses, small buses to take care of that, and even trucks. So that will cushion the effect. I'm telling you, once it's transport costs that drive up the prices of goods and services, largely. Once you take care of that, you cushion the effect of subsidy removal by bringing in buses and ensuring that people don't even pay for them to use them, because it's possible and we'll still have money left. If we can do that, honestly, this whole pain will disappear. NNPC should be run like a proper oil giant, the same way that they are running Petrobras. We see these things out, but we can't replicate it in our country. We see these things out, but we can't replicate it in our country. It's such a shame.
Let's stretch the argument in favor of subsidy a little further. You know, those who advocate caution, they say that, as Babajide said, high transport costs may be the attendant consequence, which will also have a ricochet effect on other goods and services. So is the problem subsidy or the management or mismanagement of subsidy, Ismaila?
Well, I think both is the problem. I'd say both because even if with the type of culture we run in this country, even when you say you want to sanitize a place, there are people within the system that will ensure that the sanity you are trying to bring in does not succeed. Don't forget that before 2015, there was this promise of sanitizing the NNPC. Go and find out from those who know if what was happening in NNPC before now is not still happening today. For me, I think that all those who fought against subsidy removal in 2012, including our then president, who lacked the courage and political will to push through the process, should be held responsible for whatever is happening today. Because I believe that if we had pushed it through then, perhaps by now, we would have overcome whatever pain that will come with it. For me, over the years, I've come to realize that Nigeria, it's not as if we lack the leaders. But what is lacking in our leaders is courage and the political will to implement whatever good ideas they have. They have good ideas, they have initiatives, but pushing it through has always been the problem. If you take a census of most of our young businessmen coming up today, out of every 10, 9 that you meet will tell you they are into oil and gas. And if you find out what is it that they are doing, some may not even have knowledge about the oil and gas. What they do is what RFI call portfolio contractors. Because we have come to realize that one of the easiest ways of making it in this country is through this bogus and phony oil and gas business, where even when you don't offer any service, you get paid. Yes. That is the truth. One way we can also solve this problem is I've been advocating it here, and some of my colleagues have also been joining me in that advocacy. Mr. President must stay clear of that Ministry of Petroleum. We have competent key players within the industry that can help run that place business in a business-like manner. Also, I still don't understand why Mr. President refused to sign the petroleum petroleum governance in PIGB bill. Because before now, we had issues about some of the things around the bill. Eventually, they looked at it, fine-tuned it, and passed it. One of the arguments I hear some president's men saying is that the bill is removing the power of the president. And I say, look, at most, Mr. President will be president for 8 years. So they should not see the bill as being targeted at the man who is on the seat here. No. But that is always where we miss the point. When we see policies, instead of we looking at instead of us being futuristic about the gains, we look at them, the bill
is more than 12 years old.
It's because this man is the one here. That is why they are doing it. The moment we start that type of argument, we miss the point.
Some palliatives. In fact, Babajide outlined, a spending plan if we were to drop subsidy. But we have had palliatives in the past. In the most recent past, we remember the subsidy reinvestment program, which was dogged by corruption. Peradventure, this government even considers the decisive removal of fuel subsidy now. What are your thoughts, optimism or pessimism, about a palliative program?
I think first, we must admit that we have a scandal on our hands. And that has been acknowledged by key observers, key watchers of Nigerian economy. Talking about palliatives, Jide said stuff about corruption within the system. Who essentially is benefiting from this? My very sincere opinion is that those who have been targeted as beneficiaries and who belong largely to a greater percentage of the population are not getting the best out of it. And that is true. But again, you talked about mathematics of it all. 2018 budget was a little over 9.1 trillion. $5 billion or 1.5 trillion of that is almost 20%. Nobody does that. It creates a lot of inefficiency and distortion, within the system. So, but back to the issue of palliatives. I think that we need to put it in proper context. When you talk about palliatives, you're basically, trying to draw, a parallel between the economic policy you want to pursue against the promises that you have made to the people. And I think that the ruling party has a lot of job to do in that regard. What strategy, what economic strategy did it bring to the table? Is it center or left of the center or right of the center? Because the fact of the matter is that we have had to battle between whether we should run a welfare system or a capitalist system and all that. And I don't think that has been clearly defined. Permit me to read through a comment that was attributed to Asiwaju way back in 2015. And it had to do with his take on the subsidy issue. Permit me, let me read very quickly. He said, back in 2015, and it's a clear indication that the party had a sufficient understanding of what the problems were. Full acknowledgement that subsidy was, wasn't the way to go. As what you said, in a perfect world, I wish we could sanitize the subsidy regime and thus continue with it. However, I have reached the conclusion that there are too many demons in the system for the hell to be turned into heaven. It is better that we remove it, not for the austere purpose of saving money, but to use the money more wisely, and we might better save the people. Let us begin a process of a thoughtful but decisive subsidy phase-out. That was way back in 2015. Months after the then opposition party, seized power, through the electoral process. So the issue for me here is, did the leadership of the party understand, probably via their manifesto, what economic policy to drive? I mean, if you're looking at dealing with inefficiencies and distortions within the system, you want to say to yourself, let us resolve all this, free our resources, and channel the money to things that can help us in the area of our Human Development Index. You want to begin to score positives in the area of health, in the area of education, in the area of infrastructure, and the likes. But you're going to get the money from somewhere. So I think we've been living a life for a very long time. The palliatives that you talked about, I'm sorry, I don't think that the generality of Nigerians, are benefiting from it. Bosses, yes, we find them. How long do they operate? After a few months, they all break down. We should be looking at sustainable economic policies, that can help drive our system. Maybe the railway thing. If you ask me, if you free $5 billion, okay, you can imagine how much that will do for that railway line, probably the southern part to the northeastern part of the country. Sadly,
we can't take human beings out of the system. So I hope we don't continue to go through this vicious cycle.
We just need to
the questions are inexhaustible, so
absolutely.
Let's continue. Still to come on Journalist Hangout, Soyinka calls for caution over RUGA settlements as controversy over policy rages on. Stay with Journalist Hangout. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us on Journalist Hangouts, the midweek edition. And at the start of the program, we've looked at the subsidy program, the calls by Wole TINUBU for it to be suspended, and the money invested into social programs for the benefit of Nigerians, particularly those at the lower strata of the society. Well, moving on now. Politics permeates every stratum of the Nigerian society, such that any policy is hardly implemented without such being politicized or given ethnic or religious coloration. The dust raised over the proposed RUGA settlement for herdsmen, the policy of the federal government, is yet to die down. Lending his voice to the plethora of debates going on, Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka is calling for caution in its implementation. According to Soyinka, there would be trouble if the RUGA policy is not handled with care. In his words, RUGA is going to be an explosion if not handled with care. Babajide, I'm starting with you. You have a firm control of the Hausa language. First of all, tell us, what is RUGA? What does it mean?
This is acronym for rural grazing areas. So it's not even coined from my Hausa language, as people are saying all over the place on Facebook and other. So it's just acronym for rural grazing areas. You know, RUGA, that's all. So it's not...
In what language?
No, in English.
Okay, in English.
It's acronym.
So where did it come from? That's why I exercise caution.
People, you see the thing, let's not go the way of naysayers. Naysayers came and gave us the feeling that, look, this is meant for the North. That's why this word is an Hausa word, this and that. But it's not true. It's an acronym. It's short for rural grazing areas. That's
okay.
So let's not go into is it an Hausa word? No, because even if by chance it's a Fulani word, or there's a Fulani word that is known as RUGA, it's just a coincidence. That's not. It was not designed.
And it was not inspired by the Fulani speakers.
No, certainly not.
So what are its implications for landowners who are expressing fear and rejecting the policy outright?
The thing is, if government is interested in something, and when I say government now, I'm talking about governors, because some governors are interested in this policy. They see it as capable of delivering dividends to them or to the state, their states. In the final analysis, you see people like Governor Lalong passionately pushing for this. But anything that will appear to endanger our unity as a people has to be handled with caution. The truth is, many people are suspicious of this initiative. They do not think that it will work. Many states, you can see even state governors coming out to say, we've not got land for this. We are not ready to, we've not got land to give to this. We don't even have enough land. I've heard even the Ekiti state governor and I think even Taraba and Benue, they'll come out to say, no, we do not want it. So if we do not handle it with care, we will be spreading hate amongst ourselves without knowing it. There's no need for this kind of controversy at this time. And if government wants to do something, as I was going to say, you need to sensitize people sufficiently so that they too will see the need to support the initiative. But if you do not sensitize people sufficiently, then you leave room for suspicion, for side talk, and all kinds of idle talk that if we are not careful, could degenerate into big conflict. Look at what Soyinka is saying. He said, ranching should be done in places that are environmentally congenial to that kind of trade and do not afflict humanity, which means that you must not force it on people in certain areas where people would want it, maybe in the far north and other places. Then let it happen. But don't appear to want to force it down the throats of people. That's what Soyinka is saying. And talking about cattle rearers, he's saying cattle rearers have been have been given a sense of impunity. They kill without compunction. They drive farmers who are contributing to the food solution away. They burn and eat their crops, and then you come with RUGA. At a time when there is tension in the land arising from kidnapping, for which a lot of the criminal-minded people within the Fulani tribe are blamed, and you come up with this, it will stir not just fear, but anger.
So, Babaji, are you saying that RUGA is doable? It is only ill-timed?
It is not. I'm not even saying it's ill-timed. I'm saying sensitize people, come up with how you want to achieve it in a manner that keep people's minds at rest. You understand? You've not done that. Who is it within the federal government, for example, who is the governor that has sensitized Nigeria sufficiently that, look, this is what this would deliver? No, no one has done that. And now look at the confusion trailing it. Oh, it is not even a federal government idea. It is private sector driven. Many people didn't even know this. And then you will now have the governor of Ebonyi State saying, look, it's not even in conformity with the national livestock policy of government. Therefore, we are going to suspend it. So it's just, it's unfortunate that this is how things are, how we handle things in our country. At what point did we discover that it was inconsistent with the national livestock plan? You know?
That's a good point. Has it been well thought out? Ismaila, another aspect of the conversation that RUGA has engendered is that it connotes ethnic domination of a particular tribe or ethnic group of the country. Do you agree?
I don't agree. I don't agree, and I say this with all sense of modesty. But before then, I want to appeal to all Nigerians that we should always look at the pros and cons of every government policy with open heart, without biases. Because the problem we have, and I wouldn't blame Nigerians too, I also blame the government. Government has not been engaging enough. They have not really engaged Nigerians, especially those areas where Nigerians are likely to be suspicious, you know, of this problem. Because whatever name they call it, whether ranching or whatever you call it, in most of the communities in the north, we have something that looks like it that is already going on. In Kaduna State, for example, in Zonkwa, there's an area called Jankada in Kaduna, in southern Kaduna. It's largely occupied by Fulani, you know, herdsmen. Now, in Kacha, there's a place called Laduga. In the aftermath of the crisis, government gave them that land, and they came together to settle there. Now, the problem we have is that, you see, among the Fulani people, there are two categories of them in Nigeria today. We have those they call Boro. These Boro people, there's nothing you can do to them to make them stay in a place for more than 3 months. It is in their blood. They move. Now, most of them, to the best of my knowledge, most of them are not even Nigerians. That is why if they attack in, say, Kogi, for example, today, in the next 6 hours, you'll be hearing them in either Niger or Cameroon. The way I understand what government wants to do, my own understanding is this. If we agree that there are criminally minded ones among them who are probably not part of us, if we can settle our own in some areas, it therefore means that each time we see any of those people wandering around, we know where they are coming from and we know how to attack them, because an average Boro man moves with AK-47. And they are such that if they are moving, if, for example, there's a farmland here and they are moving, and maybe the farmland looks attractive, he can just decide to enter the place. If the owner of the farm is strong enough to rescue him down, fine. If he overpowers the man, he doesn't mind killing the man. And you see, this element, they kill fellow Fulani men.
Yes.
That is why each time some Nigerians bring in religion and ethnicity, the moment we introduce religion and ethnicity into it, we are missing the point.
A lot of the Fulani that is even talking about, they are even animists. They are not Muslims.
Some of them don't even pray.
They don't pray.
They are not Muslims.
Idol worshippers.
They are not Muslims.
No, so.
You know? But to some of us, once they say Fulani, is a Muslim or is it? And you see, I thank God and I thank my MD for giving me the opportunity to come to Lagos, because my interaction with most of my Southern brothers have made me realize that a lot of them have little or no knowledge about the North. And because they don't have the information, they don't have the knowledge, sometimes you don't blame them for taking some of the positions
that they take.
They take. But if you engage them, you make them understand. I believe that, because if, for example, we agree that putting these people in a place can help solve the problem, for crying out loud, I expect the minister for, the former immediate past minister for agriculture, who is a Benue man, who is an Idoma man. I grew up in Otukpo, the Idoma-speaking area of Benue State. I believe that if Audu Ogbe has been forceful in explaining what government wants to do about this, an average Idoma man will believe him better than a Buhari coming to explain it to him.
You have explained something critical about the nomadic nature of some aspect of the Fulani. You mentioned the Bororo, which, speaks to their movement, whatever the case is. Now, Sam, you are from the South. Do you agree that the Southerners misunderstand the Northerners? Because whether we like it or not, RUGA is a policy that has been put in place, formulated for cattle rearers who are predominantly from the North.
I will start this way. Because when my friend Mpino spoke, he said that our brothers from the North are largely misunderstood. But I'll give you a quotation from a story that was published today. Okay. And the person that was being quoted is the governor of Kebbi State, Bagudu. I hope I'm right. Who is also deputy chairman of the livestock policy team. And I hope his name is quoted. He said at an event, referring to RUGA, the concept is aimed at settling Fulani nomads. Keyword, Fulani. As journalists, as media practitioners, we've said we don't even need to tag. But here's a governor from the North attaching that word, Fulani, to nomads. He said, the concept is aimed at settling Fulani nomads and other cattle rearers into a permanent abode to minimize migration from one place to another in a bid to eliminate conflicts between herdsmen and farmers. Now, how do we understand that or appreciate that? You're basically speaking to not just Northerners, but people from the South. And they're listening to a key policymaker saying that the entire project is aimed at settling Fulani. And I expect him to say he was misquoted. But if he holds on to it...
Well, because they are the ones identified with...
but Jide, this story has gone out. Now, how he deals with that is a different matter. An impression matters. Do you understand? So the issue here is, as a people, we must learn to live together. God has brought us together, to live, as a nation. We have to work seriously, very hard, at integrating our different communities. But our leaders have a very tough job to do because it starts with them. When you give out the impression that you are playing politics, even as a leader, you send clear signals that the rest of us should simply take, to the bandwagon and also play politics. So he talked about suspicion. We need to deal with that. How much of stakeholder mentality was engendered in the course of all this? Otherwise, we shouldn't have a litany of voices, governors from the North buying into it, and those from the South refusing to buy into it. In fact, in the case of the people of Cross River, they said for them it's a matter of life and death.
Even in the middle belt.
Not even all governors from the North that
are buying into it.
You see, it's the violence. You see the violence that we've experienced in the last few years. is the reason it's difficult for people to believe that something positive can come out of this. Yes, government may have designed it as a way of stopping friction between farmers because it's a big problem. But many people do not think that even that will work, because the Barahilani, for example, or as some of those Bororos are called, you know, that's the way they are called in Zamfara. You can't pin them down.
You can't.
You simply can't pin them down. They are not going to listen to you. And they understand the country, they know the country like the back of their hand. So all those routes that you do not know, all those forests in Yoruba land that you do not know, they are familiar with them. How do you then stop them from moving around? You can't stop them. It's difficult. It's going to take a long while for the nomadic Fulani who's been used to moving from place to place to agree that, look, I can actually make it here, just simply staying in one spot.
Yeah, but when you move and seize territory, it sends clear signals that those you've gone to sell on their land.
It is that nature of those fellows that makes it difficult for people to want to see this thing work. Absolutely. If you go to a place, because there is water and pasture there, and then you find the people, you chase them away, there's no way that people in other communities that are similarly blessed
are going to
welcome you.
Absolutely.
So this is the thing. We have to first find a way to stop these killings, stop the killings, and then get our people to see themselves as one. It will take a while. Maybe a succession, different cycles of administrations in our country before we get to that point when the Fulani and the farmers, especially in northern Nigeria, because the bulk of the killings
is in the north.
So before they see themselves as brothers, people belong to the same country and the same God, just as Desmond Tutu describes South Africa as the rainbow people of God. You know, so we have to see ourselves as one people.
And communication lies at the heart of the matter. When the problem of unity has been solved, we go back to the more enduring solution to settling the cattle rearers. Moving on now, our capacity for enactment of the good, the bad, and the ugly is becoming legendary. Hardly has the furore over the rape allegation leveled against the senior pastor of the Commonwealth of Zion Assembly, Koza, died down, when another controversy erupted. This time, it's the video of a senator caught slapping a nursing mother repeatedly at a sex toys shop in Abuja went viral. The assault by Senator Elisha Abu from Adamawa North reportedly occurred on the 11th of May in the full glare of a policeman who, rather than assist the victim, arrested her. The Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, has ordered comprehensive investigation into the matter, just as the Senate set up a panel to probe Senator Abu. Aren't we a dramatic people? Gentlemen, Babajide, I'm sure you've... Okay, before we begin to comment on it, let's just take a sneak preview of the video.
Go and tell them that on Monday that is one. Drop your phone while I'm talking. I said drop your phone. She's talking to her father. I said drop your phone now, I'm talking. You call him but nobody's arresting you. Drop the phone. Okay, go back here. You're very stupid. Please take it easy now. You are very stupid. You are very stupid. I think you're very stupid. I've become with you. Are you mad? I know where you go. I think you're very stupid. Take her. Go with her. No. I take her. I take her.
Babajide, senator or not, no gentleman should descend on a woman or anybody at the matter, for that matter.
You know, this morning I decided to consult Wikipedia. I rarely do, but I consulted Wikipedia on Senator Elisha, and this is the entry. Elisha Cliff Abo is a Nigerian politician. He is widely known as a violent politician, notorious for physically assaulting 2 females in a sex toy shop in Abuja, Nigeria. In the CCTV video that has been widely circulated on social media, Elisha Abo is aided by a Nigerian police officer who also participated in assaulting the females. Once looked upon as a new face of the youth in politics, Elisha has been shamed and disowned for such a behavior unbefitting of a public office holder. There are protests ongoing for his arrest. He's a senator representing Adamawa North, this and that. You know, he's Wikipedia already, so all over the world.
Yeah, yeah.
If we just type his name,
Elisha Abo,
this is what will come out. This is the shame that he has brought on himself and his family. There is no reason in the world to behave in the way that he has behaved. And when he says, oh, I had not become a senator when that happened, it does not deodorize it. It does not justify it in any way. I don't understand.
That's why I said no gentleman, senator or not.
No gentleman, no decent human being
Precisely
should behave in the way that he has behaved, because he has just shown that he is not qualified for public office. And there are many of them in the so-called hollow chambers who are no better than thugs. Some of them grew through the ranks as politicians. They were just glorified thugs who later became politicians. True. I pity the policeman who was with him, because the policeman was simply taking instructions from him. And of course, if he did not obey the instructions, maybe he won't be properly taken care of.
Or he'll be sent back, he will be denied to an unprofitable.
Yes, because they lobby for these things now.
Yeah, yes,
and see, there are policemen who deny themselves promotion just to be standing behind a politician. So I do not blame the guy. But Nigerian policemen by themselves, they are even worse than politicians, because look at the SARS people. Look at what they do. They've been told, don't go around without wearing uniform, don't beat up people. But SARS, as they are in Nigeria, they are a big disgrace. Just even yesterday, they tried to arrest my younger sister's son. Based in Canada, I was just going to repair his phone. And then they stopped the Uber driver and said, drop that boy. I mean, and nobody could just take him away and that would be the end. I don't know why they continue to give the police a bad name. It's unfortunate whether this policeman going around with a Cliff did it because he wanted Cliff to see him as an obedient police officer. He has also received a bad name, because by joining even in beating the woman, he has shown that it's a disgrace to the police. And the IG has to do something about his men. We are praising him for the work they are doing on kidnapping. But there are many people within SARS who are just a bunch of idiots, refusing to do what they've been told to do. I saw a video of a SARS man using cutlass to try to arrest. So I said, when people see that, what would they say about us?
About the police force.
About even us as Nigerians, that we are extremely violent. That's the message that they are sending out. Why would you use cutlass to arrest someone? And it was just, you know.
Ismail, Babajide has raised the critical point that police officers deny themselves promotion in order to go to lucrative places like, working with politicians. What that tells me is that there are other police orderlies who would do the bidding of their masters similarly in similar circumstances.
The truth is this. Nigerians are, Nigerians, we are very funny people. I've read all sorts of comments about it. I wonder if there was any policeman that would have done otherwise.
Yes.
I am not sure. I am not sure we have come to that stage where a policeman attached to a senator will be misbehaving, and the policeman will have the guts to stand to say, "Oh, guy, you are under arrest."
Hold the thought there. We have a caller, Olawale. Make it brief, please. Olawale, good evening.
Hey, good evening, good evening. I'm here on the line.
Make it brief, please. Go ahead.
I know time is almost gone. Have you connected me?
Go ahead, Olawale, you're on.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Please, I just want to make a brief contribution. Yes, I know please, the Inspector General of Police must punish that particular police officer. Secondly, thank God the Senate, they have ethics committee, they must discipline that senator. What that senator has done is not only a disgrace, it's a monumental disgrace, not only to the senators and to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. They must not allow to go free of punishment.
All right, thank you, Olawale.
You know, so as I was saying, I tried to do a random check on the senator from people from Adamawa. And honestly speaking, I won't say some of the things they told me, but from what I found out, I am not surprised he behaved the way he behaved. But what I was surprised at was, why was he voted in? And the only reasonable answer they gave was that the other party who presented a more responsible person, the people felt that the candidate were imposed on the people, and so in protest, they were willing to take anything. And that was how, because I tried to find out who is he, I mean, who is he, what has he,
conflict between the APC,
you know, what has he, you know, what has he, you know, because I was eager to know who the type of, you know, person he is. I haven't said
anybody
that,
will have defeated Binta Mashi.
I haven't said that the way, yeah, I haven't said that. I want to commend the Senate, the police, and even the party he belongs to for taking the step he took. And going forward, I hope that Nigerians will always see issues, not from point of political party affiliation, on religion or ethnicity, but on the fact that whatever is bad, and we must all join hands to condemn the act.
Absolutely. Sam, the conduct is weighty enough for a recall, isn't it?
Well, I think that's difficult to call because his conduct, if you ask me, was done outside his regular, duty. I'm not sure that would apply in the immediate.
But there's a certain conduct expected of a senator.
Remember, the recall process is not like you waking up and telling your constituents, oh yeah, go and queue and then recall him. So that's why I'm a bit...
But we also have Senator
like...
No, the only thing that can happen, the most plausible thing that can happen is if the police press charges of assault against him.
I was coming to that.
Although the punishment is light, because there is an option of fine. Once he's convicted, it can become the basis for a recall, because it then becomes a convict.
You
know, so, but other than that, he had not become a full senator when this thing happened.
And we know the recall process is not a straightforward thing. But I think he already has a badge, a very shameful one, and I don't know how he's going to win himself of that. I really feel for the wife.
Ran away from plenary today.
I feel for the wife who quickly jumped into the fray and said, my husband is innocent. But you can't deny what has been put out there. I mean, it's a video, and we all saw him smacking the lady, not once, not twice, severally. That act is beastly. It's condemnable, and it puts all of us in bad light. It's a shame, really. And I hope he learns from it. But ultimately, like we've acknowledged here, we hope that his colleagues who are in the House will learn one or two things from it and conduct themselves from it. Because Nigerians are watching. There will be a payday. It could take the next 2, 3, 4 years, but we won't forget. No. And the internet never forgets.
You will pay for this.
Lastly, Babajide, you said, the punishment is light and he has an option of fine.
Under the penal code, they could be charged for assault.
And then the process of recall is cumbersome. Does that mean he's going to get away with this?
No, that's what I'm saying. He will pay for it no matter what happens.
In his own way,
you cannot, the Senate cannot recall, cannot punish him with suspension because that incident happened before he became a senator. So the portion of the Code of Conduct Act that could have applied would only have can only apply if he was a public officer. But at the time he committed the offense, he was not a public officer. So that is the problem that we have. But he can be charged for, with assault, and then let's see, maybe the judge will say, no, I jail you without an option of fine. If that happens, I'll be very excited because it deserves to be in jail. But I know that there's an option of fine.
And if there's an option of fine and he pays that fine, we're going to see him in the Senate again.
And if there's an option of fine,
looking very awkward.
Even if he pays the fine, for him to run away from the plenary today, that thing will have a way or a kind of trying to shape its behavior going forward.
We'll pay for it.
I expect him to have come out to apologize by now. By now.
That's what Atiku advised him to come out, apologize, and the PDP to also do something.
I expect him
It's unfortunate that this happened because Binta Mashi was one of the best female senators that we
and
had.
Nigerians said that
and
much.
She was chairman of APC in Adamawa State.
Yes,
She's a very experienced politician. But the crisis within the APC,
from Kaduna for 2 terms.
The crisis within the APC in Adamawa allowed some PDP members who ordinarily should not have won an election to win. So, and he was the one who defeated Binta. So it's unfortunate.
So, even though he apologizes, let's hope that his conduct changes. That's all we have for you on Journalist Hangout. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Babajide, Kolade Utitoju, Ismaila Umikwido, and Sam Ibemere. Thank you very much. Join us again tomorrow for another edition of the program. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on other platforms showing on your screen and on YouTube at youtube.com/TBC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tbcnews.tv. Thank you for watching. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria. And thank you again, TUNJI SOTIMIRIN'S.